and welcome to a special episode of Open Talk. This week, shedding light on two important visits made by His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. These two visits were visit to the Republic of India and, of course, his latest visit to the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. On this episode, we will shed light on the importance of these visits, the outcome of these visits, the bilateral relations between Bahrain and the two countries His Majesty visited, and we will speak to one of the delegates who accompanied His Majesty the King on this trip. Joining me on this episode of Open Talk is a pioneer and prominent Bahraini businessman, Mr. Mohammed Al Kooheji. Mr. Mohammed, I'd first like to welcome you on our program and thank you very much for hosting us in this beautiful house, and I hope that during the next half an hour we'll shed light on the visit His Majesty made to Pakistan and the visit he made to India during the past 6 weeks. And I recall when we decided to do the interview, we preferred to wait until you come back from Pakistan and we join the two trips together and speak about them. Maybe we can start off by going back to the visit to India and then to the visit to Pakistan.
Well, saying the least before I start, the relation between these countries goes thousands of years. So the viewers have to know this. With regards to the trip itself, the trip was extremely fruitful. It was extremely helpful. It has brought in a different platform to the society of Bahrain. And when His Majesty was there, he made the remarks that the relation goes up to 7,000 years. Let's not forget, that's a long time.
Of course.
And there has been a lot of things between these two countries with terms of business relationship. Such called my grandfather and my father, both of them have studied there. And I'm talking about late 1800 and 1900. So you're talking about over 100 years of relationship of education, such called, plus transfer of technology. Those days when the business started was textile, the thing to happen. And because of the business of textile was very permanent in this part of the region, when I'm talking about this part of the region, I'm talking about the whole GCC, the hub was Bahrain, and it used to be brought into Bahrain and then redistributed to the other part of GCC. These issues have to be considered because people have to understand the history is made to be looked at and to be brought to the people's attention, because a lot of people are not aware of this. Coming to the subject of India trip, definitely they have a slogan, they call it Incredible India, and it is Incredible India, to be honest with you. But before I go into the detail of that, personally myself, I have educated in India as well, in a very, very disciplined, tough school.
Of course.
And the result is shown here today because of the way of thinking. They mean business. When you're dealing with the East, they actually reply and they keep on focusing on discipline and mean business. So for us to be in India with His Majesty, with a big delegation of all different type of sectors, from i.e. from textile to manufacturing to education, all this shows that we in Bahrain have a long history with India. And one thing was very clear, when we were there, we felt at home by our dear Indian friends, by the government side, private sector side. We were hosted extremely well. And there has been a lot of changes in India. I'm talking about 35, 40 years ago till today. Personally, I've experienced that and I've experienced today. So it is, to me, India is like a big whale. At this moment, it's just starting to move. My reading, in the next, let's say 3 years to 10 years time, you will see a bigger growth in India. And this will continue to happen because of the potential.
Of course.
It's a huge potential in this part of the world. When you talk about growth in the Far East, Asia side, 7-10% is normal. When it comes to the growth on the West, hardly 1 or 2%. So as a business people, we look for opportunities. And today opportunity is definitely the East, i.e. India, i.e. could be Pakistan, could be China. So all this putting together, my humble request would be to the viewers and to the business people to look at the opportunity in terms of business growth in that part of the world.
Interesting. And since we are speaking about India, Mr. Kooheji, something interesting I heard from the Indian ambassador last night. We had a panel discussion about small and medium enterprises, and the information he gave was something I've never heard about any other country do it. Maybe there are countries that are doing. They have a system called reservation. And what they do is that they only allow certain products to be just produced by small and medium enterprises so that large businesses don't take over. And these products include some breads, chutneys, kitchen utensils. I thought this is a really good idea if it is applied in other countries in the world where productive families are now wanting to increase their source of income. In Bahrain, small and medium enterprises are growing too. Do you think that we should look in depth into the experiences India has and learn from it? 48 million people in India are just involved in SMEs. Do you believe that these visits also gives you as businessmen the opportunity to have a look in depth into these experiences and probably advocate for applying it in this part of the world?
Let's first understand SME is the backbone of any country. You cannot neglect it. Cooperation could always take place, but SMEs is the actual growth of any country. To highlight and to focus on SMEs, it's a must. In fact, in BCCI, Bahrain Chamber of Commerce, there's been a lot of discussion on SMEs. Recognition of SMEs is an important issue. I remember about 15 years ago, I had a meeting with the Minister of Labor at that time, and my focus question was, please do not neglect the small and business enterprises. In other words, recognize them for whatever they're doing. Big companies, they don't need to be recognized. They're already there. SMEs need to be recognized.
Yeah,
if he does anything, appraise him. Show him that yes, you are part of the society. Because when starting a business, please do understand, it is very, very, very difficult. So you will be riding a very, very rough road to reach to where you want to reach. So Minister of Labor those days, if they would have applied, and I would say coming in, bringing any small companies, saying that you have done a great job. And that great job would be recognized not only by the person himself as that small company, he or she, but it would be recognized in the society. And today, what else you can do better than appraise somebody? Because we lack appreciation here. Unfortunately, appreciation in this part of the world does not come by itself, because you have to make an effort. Where you're coming from and what happened with the Indian ambassador, definitely. We have a lot of opportunities in what's such called an incubator on head to accommodate these jobs or to accommodate these entrepreneurs who wants to come with a small business and medium-sized business, and especially small business. When we reach to the level of medium size, they have already gone through that hurdle of tough road, the bumpy road. So yes, it is something that we need to look at. It is something that has to be recognized from the top, going down. Here the problem is not down going up. It's the top people have to recognize this.
Yes.
Meaning ministry, meaning LMRA, meaning EDB, meaning whoever it is. Bodies have to be involved and to say, yes, this needs to be addressed.
Yes.
We in Chamber of Commerce will be more than happy to look at it and to appraise it. That
course.
would be from my point.
Of course, it's different parties cooperating to make something really happen. Pakistan, the Islamic
With,
Republic of Pakistan, the trip itself. These two trips came following each other.
yeah, yeah. Actually, the trip coincides in a very good timing for us as a businessman. The decision was made that His Majesty is going to go to India and then to Pakistan. It was the right decision. Timing is perfect. The environment of business is right. In Pakistan, they assured us a lot of, for business houses, a lot of guarantees, sovereign guarantees, that if we do investment, and that was a big issue for us. And the stability of the country is another issue. So Pakistan, they said that this time, hopefully they're more stabilized. There has been growth in the past 2 years from what they showed us, numbers and industry itself. As a business house, yes, we would be looking into Pakistan in terms of opportunity that we can take. The Pakistani government and the Pakistani business house have to come visit us to see for their own eye, touch and feel, understand how the business is done in this part of the world. It is different, but it's much more easier than doing it back in Pakistan. The idea of being from red tape to red carpet concept, which was done 10 years ago, this has to be improved from the Pakistani side and again from India side. But we as Bahrain, we need to improve that too. Because the last thing you want an investor to come, that we will give him the beautiful rosy picture and all of a sudden things are taking more than a week because we promised 3 days. These things need to be refined. The investor center idea, the concept is great. The implementation process is not great. And that has been a lot of question. Now, someone could say, yeah, but you did not bring all the paperwork. One could say that.
Yeah.
But the information has to be automatically. When somebody comes here as business people, they need to be here for 72 hours and the job is done. Before they come, all the information has to be there. This is now back to Pakistan opportunity. Of course, the delegation were over 90 people in terms of business people. There were about 27 MOUs signed in terms of private sector, along with the public sector. And I think we covered a lot of things. Now our job is to keep on following up with both the visit. It is nice to be there, to look at, but now it is the follow-up time.
What's next? Yes.
What's next? Absolutely.
Yes. But what do you expect, Mr. Kooheji, to happen? Usually, I know that this is on a high level, of course, on a high level with His Majesty. These visits are taken seriously because memorandums of understanding and agreements are signed between governments and one-to-one among businessmen. So this time it's going to be taken seriously. It's not just like a conference where recommendations are raised and the recommendations go into a drawer and never looked back at again. Do you expect to see tangible results? Do you expect, we don't mean to be selfish, but do we as Bahrain expect to see some tangible results through Indian and Pakistani investors investing in Bahrain? Do we expect to see it the other way around? You as Bahraini businessmen having joint ventures with your Indian and Pakistani counterparts?
Before I touch the second one, let me talk about the investors from India or Pakistan to invest.
Bahrain.
What I said when I was interviewed, when I came back from India about a month ago, investors need to see a platform where there is sustainability. Meaning, when I come here with my family, I'm investing in the country, and then things has to happen systematically.
Yes.
The last thing you want to do is that there is a family and they have invested in Bahrain and everything is working well, and then there is a time ticking called 18 years old in the society of expat. We need to look at that, change certain rules, come up with a criteria that it will be investor friendly. Not only that, but even the Asian or whoever is living here for a long, more than 15 years, and he's investing. Or executives who are, let's say, they're getting more than 2,000 dinars. Their children are part of the family. You cannot say that age of 18 you have to leave because you are now over 18 and you have to apply or go to university. We have to look at that in a way that it's described. It is within the time, within the frame of work, and to make it easy for the investor to say, yes, our people are there, and there is word of mouth. There are a lot of Asians that they are here. They tell their friends, I want to come. Say, oh, but yeah, no, guess what? If your child is 18 years
You
old,
have to leave.
He or she has to leave. That cannot happen. That needs to be addressed.
By
And
who?
It is a combination of such called BCCI, combination of LMRA, combination of Minister of Labor, Immigration. These four bodies have to come up with an idea, which I just said, a couple of ideas comes to my mind. These ideas has to be done properly, and it has to be legal, so that there is no, every time there is somebody that over 18 need to be taken care of, you have to write a letter, do the process. That would not encourage business houses in these countries.
This is a very interesting point, Mr. Mohammed Al-Kooheji, and we raised it, you remember, as you said, more than a month ago when we had the program. But people who turn 18, they have probably, some have been even born here, some have went to school here, graduated here. Many people eventually feel that this is their home. By 18, if you have lived half your life in Bahrain, just half of it, then the sense of belonging is there. So yes, a solution has to be brought to this problem. There is some unfairness when it comes to people who are dedicated to serving us in our country.
Look at it from human side of it.
Yes.
As you mentioned, 18, and the guy has been probably born here as well, has no...
Doesn't know anywhere else.
No, he has no relatives there. Maybe relatives are there by name, but he's attached to Kingdom of Bahrain. This is something that it's very, very difficult. It's very emotional. End of the day, these companies, they want to come here and do what needs to be done and make money. But when it comes to the family side, if it's not addressed properly, and as soon as possible, do not expect people to come and invest. Other places has been addressed, and Bahrain need to address it as soon as possible. If they do not do that, you will keep on having hindrance when it comes to the business. Roadblocks. Today, the theory, as I said, the red carpet theory, has to implement. This matter was brought in 2004 by Crown Prince of Bahrain. There was a conference, and on the conference, economic conference, this matter, the slogan was from red tape to red carpet. It sounded excellent. Part of it has happened, but there's a long way to go to make sure it happens. Execution is an issue in this country. Talk, everybody can talk, but when it comes to execution, that's where the situation is.
And that's a serious problem.
And I always bring the example of such called Formula One. Because I was involved as a company, in December 2003, we were on the site and we had delegation from overseas looking at the site, and I said to myself, without saying it to them, no way April 2004 this thing is going to take place.
So
internally.
in 4 months? Yeah.
And honestly, it happened. It happened for a very simple reason. Because the leader was on top of it and he was pushing them. The deadline is deadline, come what may. No matter what is going to happen. And it happened. So if that big project could happen, why the other things could not happen.
Maybe the people who were involved in these organizations, committees, need to take it more seriously. Maybe they need to be more dedicated to the issues that they talk about, yet not implement.
Well, there is some sort of authority delegation issue need to be addressed.
Yes.
But taking the thing in your own hand and facing the reality that I will do it come what may, or no matter what, that spirit is not there.
We lack it.
Big time. Not only we lack it, but big time. We come from an environment in business that if this deadline did not achieve or did not do it, it is a crime in the system. With all this that we try to do, still you get some people who takes life easy. Those cannot be part of a team. You know, you have to make sure that you have a team that they're all going at the same speed. If some people do not want to be part of the team, then I guess what?
Leave them behind.
Exactly.
Yes.
They
And
can't
move
be
on.
part of the team. And we have all the ingredients. This beautiful island has got all the ingredients to be what's supposed to be.
We just need to work harder and recognize people who are capable of making it happen and give them the opportunity to make it happen. The final part of my question, Mr. Kooheji, was, do we expect any joint ventures between Bahraini businessmen and their counterparts in India and Pakistan?
Definitely, it's going to be between today and end of this year. There will be few companies who have shown very much keen interest from both these two countries, and some of the Bahraini companies have shown keen interest. So at this moment, there are a lot of discussion going on, a lot of follow-up happening. But talking about the East, we in the board of Hawar International School decided 5 years ago that we need to look at the East. And part of one of the curriculum that we introduced, the only school in the area teaching not only Arabic, English, French, but teaching Chinese. That is when you peep into the future, the foresight.
Yes.
That is important. We have to realize not the hindsight, not the sight, but the foresight.
Yes.
And the foresight is very important for us.
China.
East. China could be one, India could be one, all the East.
Yes.
Japan could be one, Korea could be one. And you learn from these countries what work means.
From which class do they teach Chinese?
Actually from kindergarten.
Do you take adults? We need it.
At this moment, no, but if that requirement is, actually the Chinese ambassador was very much helpful for us to set up this program in the curriculum of the school.
There should be one for adults, because adults will really benefit a lot, maybe in a form of an institute, like council or something. It would be quite interesting.
I think if we do approach the Chinese ambassador, he will be very much actually.
I gave you an idea for a project.
I think yeah, that would be a good idea. That would be a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Kooheji. But before we conclude our program, when I walked in, this picture drew my attention. And I believe in pictures more than anything else. This is His Highness the late Emir Sheikh Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa. Speak to me about this picture.
This was about 20 years ago, this picture. And this is the board of Nasim International School.
Wow.
Yeah. And of course, the late Emir was extremely, at that time, he was extremely happy to see the board of school because he believed that the education is the future. Human capital is the future. And those things we learn from the late Emir. When we were in that interview or to meet the late Emir, he mentioned focus on education. Focus on education. Human capital is very important.
Of course.
And this is the guidance from the late Emir.
So interesting. And it is very highly appreciated when the private sector and business people consider education, because it's not just about building industries and companies. Education is a platform through which you will create a generation that is aware, educated, and can serve this nation.
If you may allow me to say,
Please.
after the Second World War in Japan, it's fact known that the highest paid person was the teacher. And look at Japan 60 years later. Education is not to be given something that you say, oh, it's okay, it's education. No, education is what the future will happen.
Yes.
Is a society that takes place, is a discipline that takes place, is the whole thing together. That's education. And today, we lack that. We're in this education system, we lack that. There are a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Society have changed. Those days are gone when you could punish a student. Today, you have to go and sit and discuss and exchange and be a counselor more than anything else. Now, I don't know if the old school, the new school is good, but what I see...
The old school was better.
It seems like.
Yes.
It seems like, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed Al-Kooheji, for your time. And going through the pictures here, I think we need to do another episode. And we'll go through the pictures and your memories, and we'll talk about you, your life. Would you like to do that?
Hopefully
yes.
so. Why not?
I like
Why
to see
not?
the other side
Why
of
not?
people.
Why not?
And
Why
through
not?
pictures, we can do
Why
that.
not? Why
Thank
not?
you very much for your time and for the valuable information you shared with us. The issue of the 18-year-olds whose family have served in our country, and the moment they turn 18, they have to leave this country, is an issue of great importance. And I hope that through our program, your message is conveyed, and authorities that are concerned will have an in-depth look into this issue. These people have served our country, and the least we could do to them is assure them that their family are taken care of, whether they turn 18 or 19, that this is their home and they can continue to live here. These children were either born here or spent most of their lives in Bahrain. They are attached to this country, and this is a home away from home to them. A final word, Mr. Kooheji, you'd like to share with us?
I guess we've covered everything right now. Thank you very much, and we will definitely meet again soon.
We definitely will.
Thank
Your
you.
life story.
Thank you very much.
And probably there will be trips to other countries very soon, according
Yes.
to our information.
Correct, there is.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you very
Kooheji.
much.
Thank you.
Shukran.
I'd like to remind our viewers that on this episode of Open Talk, we shed light on His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa's two historical visits. The visit His Majesty made to India, and the latest visit His Majesty made to the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. How significant these two visits were for business relations between the country, for economic ties between the two countries, plus of course for enhancing the political relations between the two countries. It was our discussion on this episode of our program. India and Pakistan have been our allies, our friends, and probably after these two visits are made, we will see an attraction of more Indian and Pakistani investments to Bahrain, and joint ventures between businessmen among the three countries, Bahrain and Pakistan, Bahrain and India. On this episode of our program, we spoke to pioneer and prominent Bahraini businessman, Mr. Mohammed Al-Kooheji, who accompanied His Majesty the King on these two visits. Mr. Kooheji shed light on the importance of the visits that have been made. Discussions were made of the more than 50 memorandums of understanding and agreements signed between Bahrain and India, between Bahrain and Pakistan. We also shed light on an important issue, and I will repeat it again, the issue of the Pakistani and Indian people who work in Bahrain, and by the time their children turn 18, they are asked to leave. This is an issue that needs to be addressed, and I hope that Mr. Kooheji's message is directly conveyed to organizations that are involved in decision makings related to this issue. Finally, I'd like to thank you once again, Mr. Kooheji, for your time, and thank you very much for joining us.